the byes continue. Another 4 teams and some notable players at the top there. Wide receiver, running back, Julio Jones and Devontae Freeman. You see Phillip Rivers, Danny Woodhead, who put together a nice night last night, as did Antonio Gates, and, of course, all those Colts that just started coming on this week. No Niners on the board. Who would have thought?
Shocking.
Welcome back to NFL Fantasy Live. Money here with the guys. And as you see, like we said, a host of huge names there that fantasy teams will be without in Week 10. So let's help our viewers fill their roster gaps with some of our top waiver wire targets. Fabs, you said at the top of the show, Carlos Williams, you're number 1. But give us, how about another running back that could help the cause?
I agree with Marcus. It's James Starks, because I don't know who's playing for the Green Bay Packers wearing number 27. He's a pretty big dude. He is not playing like Eddie Lacy, let's just put it that way. He also suffered some sort of mild groin injury last week. If you're starting a Packers running back this week and maybe for the rest of the year, Money, it should not be Lacy. It should be James Starks, and he is widely available on NFL.com.
Well, I think another thing, when you're looking at the quarterback position, Derek Carr has to be considered. I think there are too many people out there who kind of overlooking Derek Carr because he plays for the Oakland Raiders. Again, this isn't the same Oakland Raiders that we've seen. This offense is really picked up, and you can see Derek Carr really maturing and being comfortable in his position. And he's got the background, too. And I know, look, when you think about his brother, David Carr, learning from him and being in a pro-type mentality for a long time, doesn't surprise me that he's kind of beat that curve right now. Derek Carr is for real.
See Matt Ryan on that bye week list? Just drop Matt Ryan, pick up Derek Carr, and ride him for the rest of the season.
Yeah, pretty much. Or if you're looking for a guy, at least for the short term, Tyrod Taylor's another quarterback option you can pick up and get. He's available in a ton of leagues right now. And this is a guy who, you talk about sitting and learning. Tyrod Taylor's a guy who spent the early part of his career sitting and watching, and has stepped in, has played some really good football. And they're going on the road, which is a little bit concerning. Look, the Jets have been giving up some passing yards the last few weeks. They've given up 3 straight 330-yard passers. I don't know that Tyrod gets to that number, but he can still put up a solid fantasy point day for you.
For those of you that have a lower claim in your waiver wire order,
love this.
Devin Funchess, the rookie, was slow to kind of pick up what they were trying to lay down there in Mike Shula's offense in Carolina. But there's no doubting the size. There's no doubting that he can put that big body on smaller corners or outrun the bigger linebackers that are trying to cover him. And when you think of the lack of targets that Cam Newton has to work with, he's going to get some. This week it was 4-3, got 3 receptions on 4 targets, 71 yards and a touchdown versus the Packers, those 13 points. And I suspect going up against the Titans, you're going to see that go up this week. So deep claim, you got Julio Jones on a bye. I like Devin Funchess. All right, Fabs, Devontae Freeman, Frank Gore, Danny Woodhead, all out this week. You've already given us 2. Let's get a 3rd running back.
I like how Danny Woodhead is now in that conversation as an elite running back, right? Antonio Andrews, who is someone that we told you could pick up last week, played very well against the Saints. Now, part of it was that this was a very good matchup, but this is a guy who has seen his rushing attempts and yards increase in 4 straight games. David Cobb, still listed on injured reserve, came back a little out of shape and maybe a little overweight. So Andrews looks like the guy right now. I'm not telling you that he's going to be a superstar, but when you're talking about replacing players on a bye week or injured players or maybe Eddie Lacy who's not performing, at least Andrews is seeing volume, Money, and that's important.
Well, think about his quarterback and putting him in position to be a power play for you, especially as the season move on. When you look at what he did against the Saints, and I know it was the Saints, but he threw 4 touchdowns, and maybe you want to call one of those touchdowns a lucky touchdown throw. However it is, he put up 4 touchdowns again, and you look at his schedule moving forward. He's in the AFC South. We know he's getting ready to play the Raiders, but he plays the Jags twice. He plays against the Colts. He plays against the Texans. They've been struggling. Marcus Mariota could help you win your fantasy league and get you to the championship. Straight up, homie.
Well, you saw those teams that are on a bye. That means there are some good wide receivers out there. No Julio Jones this week. We know the Chargers have had injury problems at the wide receiver spot. No T.Y. Hilton. Kamar Aiken's got a really good matchup. This is not necessarily a long-term play, but at least for this week, the Jaguars' defense has been awful. They're giving up more than 32 fantasy points a week to wide receivers over the last 4. So Kamar Aiken's going to see plenty of targets, especially with Steve Smith out of action. This is a guy that, again, kind of a short-term stopgap option for you.
You mentioned Marcus Mariota, Akbar. I'm going to go to one of his favorite targets from this past week, the rookie, Dorial Green-Beckham. Now, it wasn't, it wasn't Boffo points, 7.7, but the targets were there, and that's what we're talking about. Rookies that are starting to get more and more work and getting more and more looks from their quarterbacks. 10 targets, 5 receptions, the 77 yards. He is a physical freak, and while they're playing the Panthers this week, I can't envision Josh Norman dealing with DGB. I mean, maybe he will, but whatever the case, like I said with Cam Newton, Marcus has to throw it to somebody. He's not just going to run the ball with Antonio Andrews all game. He's going to sling that thing around. And Green-Beckham's starting to get more and more targets. You see him there, Fabs, on your top waiver wire targets at number 9.
Yeah, we've got 3 Titans on there. How about that? Austin Seferian-Jenkins looks like he's getting close to coming back. Nate Washington's been very good, although the matchup this week is not very good. And Sean Drone. Yeah, they're on a bye.
0.1%.
They're on a bye, and they just cut Pierre Thomas, so
he's the guy.
Maybe you stash him away.